We should be live. Hello! All right.
Hello.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the Pixel Profiles series where we are going to be sitting down and discussing just streaming entertainment in general with live streamers, content creators, and just people from all different walks of life to kind of discuss like what brought everybody to generally the same area, whether that be Twitch, Kick, YouTube, Rumble. Hopefully, there's some Rumble creators out there. Trovo. I want to interview people from all over the place. And our first guest is Miss Sylfia. Yay, everybody
Hey.
applaud. Everybody happy days. Um, Sylfia has been streaming for a while. Um, I'm not going to go into specifics, but the channel Sylfia itself has existed for, I think, 2 years now.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
almost coming up on 2 years. Wow.
nice. Yeah,
Wow, that's
it's
a long time.
when I thought about it, I was like, that doesn't seem right. But no, it was like a year before I started at Planet Fitness originally. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's been a minute. How
It
how
has.
have you been adjusting back into the streaming world?
It's good. I felt a little bit overwhelmed again, which I had avoided or tried to avoid, and I tried to avoid the burnout. But besides that, it's been good.
Yeah, I 100% understand that.
It just
As
happens.
some of you may know, maybe if you're going back and watching this video in the past to see where things started out, I'm actually just coming back from about a year hiatus because I got burned out really bad. And something not a lot of people talk about when they're talking about like coming into streaming is like gaming kind of turns into a job,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
you're sitting at home and you're like, well, I could be streaming this. I don't want to not stream this. Somebody might miss something, and it's like, well, this would be really entertaining to stream. And you kind of sit there in your own little limbo of, well, should I stream this or do I want to, sit back and enjoy this on my own?
Yeah.
Um,
It takes away the fun and like the leisure that
yeah,
video games are.
definitely. But there's
Yeah.
there's also another side of that coin. It's like, um, well, I should play this. I need to actually sit down and play this. You know what? Streaming
Mhm.
is going to give me a reason to sit down and play this. That sort of thing. Like for example, I've had Assassin's Creed Valhalla um, in my inventory or library or what have you for years now,
Mhm.
and I've never sat down and played it. And I'm finally going to be sitting down and play it here pretty soon. So I'm
Ooh,
looking
that's a
forward to
good one.
actually getting into that. Um, this is one of the only times I'm actually gonna like actually talk to chat really quick. Is I'm We're gonna be getting into a groove. Rules are gonna be established, things like that. But Selena, you didn't miss the intro. There wasn't an intro because we kind of got started a little late. Sylphia had some stuff to finish up taking care
My
of at her
fault.
house. It
Fault.
happens. Real life happens. I'm not gonna like make anybody feel bad for being a few minutes late. It is what it is. But
My fault.
Selena, and I know we talked about this, but if you wouldn't mind holding on to any questions anybody might have for Sylphia or myself throughout the stream, at the end of stream, if there are any questions, we'll come back and kind of address them as a whole. After the interview or after the conversation. So yeah. Um. Okay. So how would something I'm going to be asking everybody, how would you describe sort of your introduction to gaming?
Oh, my introduction to gaming. Well, I was a lot younger. I was a young kid, and my dad was always like an avid gamer. He played everything. And I remember as a kid, I was too young to play games, but he would always play video games. So I would sit behind him and watch him play games. I specifically remember like him playing Oblivion and Gosh, there's a few others. I remember I just got it. We played like Baldur's Gate together as a
Mm-hmm.
family. Um, but yeah, it was really because my dad would play it all the time, and I would just sit and watch him play, and that was my introduction to video games. And
Nice.
then, yeah, and I was actually a console gamer for most of my life, and I played Xbox because my father wanted to get Netflix, and Xbox offered Netflix as a streaming service when it
Yep.
first came out. Yeah, it was like the first one, I think.
It was. Yeah.
Yeah.
PlayStation didn't come out with any sort of
hmm
options for streaming services for a while.
Yeah, which is so weird to think
Yeah.
about because they all do now. Like that's the normal, but back in the day,
Yeah.
it was not normal.
Yeah.
So that, yeah.
PlayStation came to bat there pretty late, I think. I think PlayStation didn't get anything until um it was after the Xbox One came out, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, which
So
that wasn't that long ago either.
yeah, it's a lot longer than we think ago.
Oh
Time
no, don't say
I
that.
am not gonna say what year and how many years ago the Xbox One came out because I have enough gray hairs on my beard as it is.
First one release date. I'm
Nope.
just curious.
How
I'm
dare
just
you?
curious. Okay. I've seen it. I saw it. We're good.
Yep, just growing gray hairs as we speak. Um,
Oh
so,
no.
how about we that introduction to gaming kind of sort of almost mirrors mine in a way. I actually got sort of introduced to it through my brother and my parents. My brother got a Super NES when we were little,
Wow.
and yeah, my brother actually had one of the original gray brick Game Boys. So I would play the
Mhm.
original Tetris on that thing. A lot of people don't realize, but you couldn't play those without a light. They didn't have backlights.
Ooh,
Yep. And
wow.
so we had Centipede Millipede, and my brother had a cartridge that would connect to the Super NES, and you could plug in Game Boy games, and you could play Game Boy games on the Super NES.
I
So
remember
like,
blowing up the cartridges thinking it'd make it work.
oh yeah, come to find out, it made it worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if it worked, it worked. And honestly, I think it's because like the moisture actually made the connection better or something like that. Who knows? Whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so my parents were really involved with the games that we played, probably because they wanted to make sure we weren't playing anything super violent. Um, but my dad was pretty big on playing games like Donkey Kong Country, and my mom used to play Pokemon Snap with us when we were little on the N64. Oh god, the Mario Kart 64, that was a big one growing up too. That was a really big one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was, obviously I was a console gamer until my mom got a business account through Dell, and she was actually able to get my brother and I really inexpensive desktop computers because we actually renovated the basement of the house that we were living in to where my brother and I had like our bedrooms downstairs in the basement, and we had like our own sort of apartment downstairs. We had like our own fireplace, we had our own like entertainment system and stuff like that. We decked that thing out like crazy. The only thing we were missing was a mini fridge. Would have been great. um
Were they around during that time?
Mini fridges.
Yeah.
uh,
Were,
I don't know.
I would say I think
I was just
they
thinking
were.
back.
Yeah, yeah, we had the same kind of setup. We had all our gaming stuff downstairs. We had this
Hmm.
giant like sitting area, like TV theater area, and that's where the Xbox was. Then each of us had our own computer eventually, which they were very old computers, and we weren't really allowed to play too many games, but I played a lot of console, like Fable. That
Yeah.
was my big one.
Oh, If my mom had found out that I was playing a game called Diablo 2, that would have ended pretty quickly, I'm sure.
Oh, see, my parents were opposite. They didn't care what I played. I wasn't monitored. I was probably doing things on the Xbox and talking to people I probably shouldn't have been.
Oh, absolutely. Oh,
I was off.
absolutely. Oh god, old Xbox lobbies were just a lot of
Yeah.
people grew up really
Yeah.
quick on old Xbox lobbies.
Oh my
Oh my
goodness.
god. Yeah, oh dude, Modern Warfare 2 lobbies were something else.
Yeah, they were pretty brutal.
Oh yeah.
They were
Um
great. Good times.
so, kind of segueing a little bit. Uh everybody that I'm kind of going to be interviewing moving forward, it's obviously content creators and streamers. So I kind of want to get like a gauge of really what brought everybody to generally the same sort of area. So real what kind of brought you into the realm of streaming?
Well, I know it's almost looked down upon to be like, "Oh, I'm just doing it for the money," but no, I'm actually just doing it for the money. And I know it's like it sounds like kind of awful to say, but I mean, um, so what? I picked up streaming in January of 2022, and with the idea in mind that streaming can kind of help generate some sort of income. This was back when I was a teacher. This was before I started working at law firms. And I was like, I couldn't afford anything by myself. I mean, some people knew what was going on in my real life, but
Hmm.
just a lot of things had changed to where I was like not financially good anymore.
Right.
Um, yeah. So the thought was like, oh, I would just stream just to maybe help with groceries every week or, something small. And it really was. I mean, I think I've told people that it was from a divorce because that's kind of when the divorce started. But
Yeah,
um,
roughly right around then. Yeah.
yeah, I think it was like a few months before, but unfortunately in my state we have like this waiting period. So
Right.
um, yeah, which sucked.
Yeah.
But so like that was kind of my thing. I was working full time still, and I was like, well, let me just try to help myself like with the costs and stuff. And then when I say like helped, like I mean it pulled us out from potentially losing our house and stuff. Because I think in my first week of streaming, somebody donated $1,000, and from there it just like snowballed.
Oh yeah. I was there. I saw it happen. I
Yeah,
saw you cry. It was adorable.
yeah, yeah. So that's kind of why it started for us. Like I knew you could make an income on Twitch,
Hmm.
but to like I wasn't expecting anything beyond like maybe $20 a week, and even that's like I felt like was wishful thinking. I was like, well, maybe it could help with some things, or at least help my mood and um I don't know, just be a happy thing that I do for myself.
Right.
Yeah, very happy.
Yeah. And I've known you for long time now.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back and check when that Orlando meet was.
Huh.
I couldn't find it anywhere. There's that picture you posted. There's a timestamp on that picture, obviously, but like that first one that we met at, I don't remember what date that was. I know it was at the Dave and Buster's one.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at their Twitter. But yeah, we met at the Dave and Buster's. I remember I
Yeah.
went with a friend because it was my first meetup. I hadn't moved to Orlando yet, but I saw there was a meetup and my parents had just moved there, and I was like, well, I should go to this. And that was when like I'm not near as I don't want to say into it, but I'm not near as I guess egotistical and wanting to make streaming be my thing
Right.
as I am like now. Like I'm pretty kind of going with it. But back in the day, I used to be like, everything is an opportunity. But now
Right.
I'm just kind of like,
Yeah. Hey,
But
whatever happens, happens.
yeah, but that's kind of why I went to that one. I was like, well, I do need to. Network. I was just learning how to network.
Right. I still have issues networking. You know, that's something, you know, if I could give any piece of advice to younger streamers is if you are wanting to make a career out of this, networking is the most important thing to learn, and doing it the right way, because
Hmm.
you will get bad advice from a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
people.
Back in
Um
the day when I first started streaming, the worst advice I got was basically to like use people almost.
yeah.
Like you make friends with the purpose in mind that they are to kind of um build your audience, or that you're basically using them to build up your stream.
Yeah.
Terrible advice. And but I that's what I did in the beginning. And I made a lot of enemies very quickly doing that.
Mhm.
I remember I had the worst drama with this other female streamer because I did that stuff.
Yeah, it's
Fun
learn,
time.
and especially what I've seen a lot. I don't know if they're bots. I don't know if they're scammers. I don't know what's going on with them, but it's a consistent thing, especially on Kick. And I think they're bots because Kick doesn't have a lot of good bot prevention right now.
Hmm.
But you'll see a lot of people coming into Kick channels where they'll say, hey, I'm a new artist. Uh, let me do some work for you, yada yada, stuff like that. And like, that's all well and good. But after somebody has said, no, I don't need any artwork done, and you're still pushing it, um,
Hmm.
learn to take no for an answer. Learn to accept no as an appropriate answer. Learn to be okay with having the door shut in your face. And
Yeah.
that's something that they really try and teach you especially when you're first getting into sales. My most
Mhm.
recent job, I was actually the very first sales manager for it was a cleaning company in the area. Uh, the amount of people that told me to get fricked and like close the door in my face, get out, we don't need you, blah blah blah, that sort of stuff. You have to learn how to just smile and say, all right, have a great day, I'll see you later. You have to be okay with that. And the
Yeah.
same thing comes with growing your channel. If you can't accept no as an answer to somebody, you know, like let's say you're talking to a streamer and you're like, hey, do you want to play some games together sometime? You're going to get so many no's. So
Hmm.
many no's. And if your first reaction is getting mad at them and trying to flame them online, or trying to, you know, make a big deal out of it to get some sort of publicity or something like that, you're not going to last. You're going to get a bad reputation. Nobody's going to want to associate with you, and you're going to ruin your channel. So
Hmm.
you got to learn to accept no.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
had a lot of no's. A lot of failing too.
Mm-hmm.
There was one year I remember I was shocked this even happened to me, but I got invited to a Twitch, like basically work for Twitch at TwitchCon for one of their events,
Mm-hmm.
and they invited me to do that. And I was like, sweet. And it was awesome because I also had a badge that said staff on it, so I could get into anywhere.
Right.
And it was like the best thing ever. But I was surprised that happened. I completely fucked it up, by the way. Completely embarrassed myself. But then different doors opened, and then I got to redeem myself. But yeah, um, that was pretty rough. Embarrassing myself in front of like 20,000 people.
No, it was fine. I could tell you were having a good time.
Oh God, no. Oh God, no.
Hey,
The guy sitting next to me didn't even like me. It was so awkward too. Like they made it clear they did not like me.
well,
And now, but now what's funny, karma is that
oh,
you know, people have come around and accused him of things, and he's no longer around.
Ooh. Oh. So you know what? I think he was a butthead.
He was. He
Simple as
definitely
that.
was. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm good at
Bye.
words. Um,
But yeah, I mean, I see a lot of the graphic artists too, like the ones you were talking about.
mm,
They're intense.
yeah,
They're
that
very intense.
it's it's forceful and unappealing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I had one come in that said, "Hey, I'm a graphic designer," which was already different than the other ones I've gotten. So felt like this one wasn't a bot, right?
Mhm.
Came in, said, "Hey, I'm a graphic designer. Um, gonna throw you a follow,
Hmm.
and if you want, reach out. I'll send you my portfolio, and if you want some work done, let me know." I said, "Thank you. I
Mhm.
appreciate that." Didn't push, didn't shove, didn't try and force me to make a decision right then and there. And I have their username saved because they stood out as a good experience with an artist.
Hmm.
If something happens to where I'm able to afford something from them and I like their material, I'm going to hire them. Simple as that. Just because they weren't a prick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, now this may come as a shock to some people, unless
Oh
you saw
no.
the header for today's episode. Sylfia
I'm ready to
is a
be
mother.
shocked. Oh yeah.
Yep, she does have a wonderful son. Not gonna say his name on stream, but as Uncle Zach, I can say he is a riot, hilarious, and you could tell his mother raised him well.
Thank
So,
you.
as a mother, as a
Mhm.
mother, as a streamer, as a gamer, how are you sort of balancing not only streaming but working full time and being a mother? How do you find it best in your experience to sort of balance all of those aspects of your life at the same time?
What's nice is he's a little bit older, and he actually games with me. His setup is right there.
That's
It's
adorable.
like, yeah, it's right behind mine, and you can't really see it because, like, for some reason, that's like a little indent in the wall over there, and his
Oh, okay.
his
I
setup fits perfectly. I'll have to send you a
Yeah, I
picture.
see his like little white chair
Yeah,
over there. It's a little
yeah,
it's cut off on stream, but like his little
yeah,
white chair is kind of sticking out around the corner.
yeah, yeah, that's his chair, and, so we play games together, though I don't stream when he's around.
Mm,
Um, I stream late usually because he's sleeping, or I take the weekends off because that's kind of time I dedicate to him. Um, I don't. I put him before streaming. I don't stream if he needs me or wants me. I keep streaming limited to like, and I know it's not like the success track to have only like 1 to 2 days a week streaming,
mm-hmm.
but I mean it's worked for me so far, and I only stream once or twice a week for like 4 hours. It's nothing strenuous. And I also do it when I have to do my college stuff. So we sit and like study, or like, yeah, or I just do like late night gaming. Somehow I have energy. I drink a lot of coffee. I drink a lot of
I saw
coffee.
that espresso drink you posted earlier. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie, I was super jealous.
you should try it. Like, it's rocket fuel.
Oh, trust me, I get the shaken espresso with two extra shots of espresso.
Oh my goodness, that
Yeah,
sounds
I'm a
delicious.
crackhead. Um, for
It
legal
helps.
purposes, I mean in regard to caffeine.
Yes. Yeah, just caffeine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice. I still get to play games with him, and it's still fun. I don't play the same games with him that I do on stream.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I also play Roblox with him, which actually there's some pretty fun Roblox games. I'm not even gonna lie. And then he he has his games too. Like he is so into this game. It's called Deer Simulator, and you're this deer
Yep.
and you find guns. He loves guns, by the way. And yeah, it's a weird game. I'm like, okay, it's all you.
He's a little boy. He's gonna love guns.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He's all about his guns.
I uh I think you should introduce him to the original simulator. Goat Simulator.
What? Oh, I didn't even know there was a goat
Oh, the
simulator.
Goat Simulator's the OG.
Oh, is
Yep.
it?
And there's also a Bear Simulator, which
Oh
has been
goodness.
on my Steam wish list now for like 4 years. I
Oh my
just
goodness.
never bought it.
I don't know. These simulator games seem dangerous. He's obsessed. We also have movie nights. Like, I love to do these themed dinners. I've done like a themed Minecraft dinner. This past weekend we did a themed Emperor's New Groove dinner. I tried to make spinach
My
puffs for the
spinach puffs.
the most iconic food. And then like we did like a Mario movie night, and then my favorite I think was the Lightyear movie night. And I make like the themed foods, and he
Mm-hmm.
helps. Um, it's something that we like to do together.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how about when it comes to work? Do your coworkers kind of know that you do streaming on the side as well, or is that just something you kind
Yeah.
of keep to yourself?
No, I told my boss about it. So where I work, I used to work in corporate law, and the corporate law firm I worked at was like a collections firm.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we did like bankruptcy and collections and foreclosures, but like we were on the side of like the banks. We represented the banks, not the people. So we were going after like just regular people like you and I. And we would represent the bigger company. Like we'd represent like hospitals, we'd represent the like big banking companies that I can't say names, but there was like six different ones because a lot of banks they don't have like their own law firms. They outsource like law firms in each state, and that's that firm in that state represents them for that state. Um, so yeah, so we were going after people and taking their homes and taking everything they had because they had all this debt. And I was like, and it was a fine job. I actually didn't mind the work. I worked in the legal side of it, so I worked with like the attorneys and stuff. So I never
Mm-hmm.
talked to these people. I never talked to the opposing party because I legally could not. And eventually I um eventually I had to go to this law firm to get legal advice. And I remember hitting it off with the person at the front desk. He's this 82-year-old Vietnam vet. And we hit it off. We talked about politics. The first thing he asked me when I walked in was if I was a communist spy. And I was like, oh, ha ha ha, yes. And but he liked me, and he knew I worked at a firm because I had to do this whole intake thing. Funny enough, this was the firm that handled my divorce. Well, actually, after that I handled my own, but I went to them for that. And when I had my consultation with the attorney, he had already told the attorney about me, and I was even like, well, if you have a job opening, haha, because this was like 5 minutes from my house, and I kind of liked it. And so, actually, at my consultation, which I paid $200 for, because you pay attorneys for their time,
Right.
she ended up liking me, and she was like, "Well, if you do want to come work for me, I don't need an answer right now, but just give us a call." So, like, I was like, "Well, I would say yes right now," but I waited like 3 or 4 days. I gave notice or I called her and said, like, "Yeah, I want to work there," and I gave notice to my job, and I was so sad, but I knew it was best.
It's got to
And then,
be it's got to be rewarding though, because you're working with family law now, right?
yeah, I switched to family law, which is still some intense people. Um, yeah, still some intense people.
Oh,
But
I can imagine. Yeah, it's
I went from a 300-man law firm where I worked for like 15 different attorneys, and like it was actually really great because all the attorneys were awesome, and I worked with them. And now I work at this firm where there's only two other people in the office. They're both older. My boss, she's in her 70s, and then the other person in the office with me is 82. A lot of Vietnam War stories. And it it was a little bit weird bringing up like, oh yeah, and also I stream, because they were like, so what, you do porn? And I was like, no, 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 it's not. And I actually shared the story because it happened a couple weeks ago. And I told my boss about it, and she thought, the idea of streaming and making money was cool. And she was like, oh, I think my daughter tries to do that kind of stuff. I was like, oh, yeah, it's pretty popular. But I guess one day she was in court. I sometimes go to court, but this day in particular, I was in the office. And I guess she was like, I don't know why this came up, but we were talking about how people make money on the internet. And so I told them, I was like, oh yeah, my paralegal, she goes on Tinder and she makes money. And then the judge went, I think that's called prostitution. And she was like, no, 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 no. She plays video games. And, and my boss was like, I can't think of the name of the website. And luckily, the other attorney that she was going against knew, and he was like, "It's called Twitch. It's just video games. There's no prostitution. But you just
Well,
get." And I guess the other attorney went on this big, in-depth explanation of what Twitch was, so it cleared my name from being a prostitute. And I
that's
was like, "Yeah, this is a
that's
whole conversation they had in court about me being a prostitute."
fun.
And I was like, "I'm never going back to that courthouse now."
Oh, careful. That's a loaded weapon right there.
Yeah.
Twisted teas. Oof.
Mm-hmm. Delicious. I get the half and half. But yeah, so the older guy, he's kind of like, well, that's stupid. Like, why would you make money doing that? Um, just like, well, I do. And then my boss she thinks it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what is really cool, and probably one of my favorite parts about streaming is the charity work that you can do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I know you did something for one of your old coworkers.
Oh yeah.
Did you want to talk about that, or
Sure. Sure.
yeah?
I think it's a great thing. I mean, so I think I told you I started streaming for money purposes back in January.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't mind tossing out numbers if, I mean, you don't mind.
Yeah, go
So
for
in
it.
January alone, I made around 14,000, which at the time I was kind of like, well, we're taken care of. I don't need to worry about anything anymore. Like, I could pay the mortgage for months now. And so after that, I was kind of like, well, I don't really need the donations as much as other people do. So basically, come February, the second month of streaming, I was like, well, my coworker, and at the time I was a teacher, she was still showing up to work every day. And she was like this 60-year-old woman, and she had breast cancer. They found out she had breast cancer around the holidays, so like December, so like 2 months, not even 2 months before we did the charity streams. And I was like, well, since I'm like pretty good, I have no money stresses anymore. I can just in February, I'm not going to make it a big thing, but I'm just going to give all my donations in February to her to help her pay for the chemo, because she was showing up to work every day. She'd get like chemotherapy treatment on Monday and then come into work the rest of the week, and then she'd get like a shot like on like the Sunday and then still come to work that week. But she was so weak, and like no one minded doing extra work to help her. No, that was never an issue. Everyone stepped up for her. But it was just kind of like, why are you here? Like, you should be at home resting. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, my mom had breast cancer, and she couldn't even walk on her own. So I was like, well, you know what? How about just the month of February? Every donation is just going to go to her. And I talked about it. I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to do this thing. So if you donate, it's just going to go to her. I did some light advertising about it, like, hey, just for this month, this is my coworker, this is kind of what's going on, so if you donate, I'm just gonna give the money to her. So yeah, in the first like week we started doing that, we raised like $5,000, which she was telling me one day at work that they were $3,000 short of paying for the treatments. and they were talking about selling one of their cars, which I know they had actually already sold one of their cars, so they were down to like their last car. And she was talking about having to sell her car and they were thinking about putting the house like on a second mortgage or like doing something, and that they were just super stressed out, and she was telling me all this stuff. So yeah, that actually paid for the remainder of what they needed to. And when they gave her the money too, I actually she's kind of this proud person where I knew she wouldn't accept the money. So the morning I went in to give it to her, I stopped at the store and I got money orders, which you pay for, like, they're basically as
Yeah.
good as cash. Yeah, and I wrote her names on it. So I was like, well, if you say no, you're literally the only person on this earth that can get these checks. And I remember she asked me, she was like, is it okay if I take it all out now? And I was like, oh yeah, that's like already left my account. And I remember I was I was at Kroger doing it. I had to call my bank and tell them that it was me doing it and they had to approve it to actually withdraw
Mm-hmm.
all the money. But yeah, so she was super grateful. And after that, the day that I gave her the money, she stopped showing up to work, which was expected and everyone knew. And I actually haven't seen her since. But I do know that she beat cancer, so
That's awesome.
she's good. Yeah.
And I also see you've done some St. Jude stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. St.
what
Jude and Starlight. Yeah.
what's your favorite organization you've supported so far? Or like
Mm.
what's the yeah, yeah. Which organization did you like enjoy the time of raising the money for so far the
I'd
most?
say Wounded Warrior Project. Even though that was like my smallest fundraising event,
Mm-hmm.
still raised some money for them. And I kind of like the Wounded Warrior Foundation, and I do like St. Jude too. I do think it's important to help these kids.
Yeah.
Um, and it's also good to help veterans. I wish I could do a lot, like all the charities, but I have
Yeah.
to pick and choose. There was one charity I did that they kind of rubbed me the wrong way, simply because I started the charity, and I don't really reach out to the companies when I do it, but they tend to reach out to me when I'm like, hey, I'm gonna do this charity, and they're kind of like, oh yeah, thanks for doing it. Like, if you need anything, let us know. But they kind of acted like I didn't exist, and it was just kind of like, okay, I mean, I don't really need the attention or anything for doing it, but they like really acted like I did not exist. And then there was one night I had raised $1,000 in one night, and then out of nowhere I get like a bunch of messages from like four different people with this organization, and they start inviting me to all these things and like actually like talking to me and giving me the time of day that they did not before. And
Mm.
I was just kind of like, okay, interesting.
I finally matter. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
you've
I know
noticed
what you
me.
mean. I know what you mean. There was one I worked with a few years ago that you know, they reached out to me before anything even started, before I even started saying I was going to raise money for them. They reached out to me initially,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was cool. Hey, I
Mm-hmm.
can, work with somebody that actively reached out to me. Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, raised the money for them. After they sent me all the overlays and stuff I would have needed. Sent
Okay. Yeah.
me like custom alerts, stuff like that I could use, which was cool. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then afterwards, I tried talking to the same person that reached out to me, everything like that. I was like, hey, how'd I do? Is there something y'all think I could do better? Is like maybe we could work together in the future? Haven't heard anything from anybody since then.
Mm.
So I'm not going to name drop them. I don't know if they treat everybody like that. I don't know if it was a one off thing. I don't know if the person that dealt with me got fired. So it could just be
Mm-hmm.
that. It is what it is. I'm not going to flame anybody online. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but, am I going to work with them again? Probably not.
It rubs you the wrong way.
Yeah.
It does.
You know,
And also, like, a lot of these charity organizations, they share their tax returns just to kind of be a little bit more transparent.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked into this one, and I'm just like, I don't understand how somebody that works for a charity could be making six figures, like paying themselves out six figures. So I was just kind of like, I get people should get paid for their work, but like if you're
Yeah.
making almost like $200,000, that's a bit excessive.
And then you've got these CEOs of these nonprofit charities that are bringing home like $1 billion, and I'm like, how?
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah. Yeah, and they like to throw it in your face like nonprofit, but
Yeah.
really they can legally pay out people that
No
work for them.
profit for anybody else is what
Yeah,
we mean. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So like they can legally pay out their people a reasonable fee, which could literally be anything. It's so loose, so they could
Yeah.
pay them like six figures, and it's reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so just gotta be careful.
Yeah.
I often look into their tax returns just to make sure
Oh,
it's not like
you have to.
I,
You have to do your
yeah.
research if you're going to be working with the company. It's like Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. It's like headquartered in Orlando. They don't.
Oh,
They don't. They don't pay out an exorbitant amount of money to their CEOs and everything like that. That's why I work with them as often as I can,
mm-hmm,
at least once a year.
mm-hmm.
Um, which my next one's going to be in March. So looking forward to that. Um, but, them being as big of a company as they are, they don't reach out, they don't talk. Like, it is what it is. I'm not going to hold that against them. I like what they stand for. And, I've got that personal attachment to the foundation itself.
Yeah,
Um, so I'm not going, I'm saying, like, the reason I bring that up is because there are certain excuses, or like there's certain expectations you have to have with certain companies. Like
right.
I don't expect somebody from the Salvation Army to reach out to me,
Yeah,
to talk about donations. I don't expect somebody from, there we go, Wounded Warrior Project to reach out and talk to me specifically. It, like, stuff like that. There's certain expectations you have to have, obviously. Um so,
yeah.
having said that, with all of your experience with streaming, with, the friends you've made, the enemies you've made, the games you've played, like the communities that you've built, you know, um, in your own experience, if you could change one thing about, like, the expectations, or like the um not the expectations, but like the culture, one thing about the culture of streaming, what do you think you would change personally?
Uh, that's a little loaded because I would honestly change the entire streaming culture. I feel
Ooh.
like the streaming culture has actually almost ruined these this upcoming generations for video games and how video games are played. Video games take a stance where they listen to these people and what they want because they're, I guess, the loudest and they're the most popular people playing these games. It's not for games anymore. It's all just, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but
I think I know what you're saying. They're trying to make clicky, they're trying to make things that people can say online to give them buzz, as opposed to
yeah,
making a good game.
yeah. A lot of it's like cash grabbing, and
Mm-hmm.
there has not been a really good game that I've genuinely enjoyed in a very long time.
Since KOTOR 2.
Um, yeah, exactly. I was just about to say Knights of the Old Republic. I liked Mass Effect, made by the same people. It came out a little bit afterwards.
Yeah.
But I mean, beyond like, there hasn't been a good game, and a lot of these games are geared towards certain people, which is fine. It's just not my cup of tea a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And just streamer culture. It's very entitled. It's very just. I'm not a fan of streamer culture. That's kind of why now I stay out of it. I mentioned earlier, like back in the day, I was like all about it.
Mm-hmm.
Very egotistical. I didn't even like myself. Um, yeah, no. You'd never got the brunt of it because like, we were genuinely friends that entire time. But
Yeah,
um,
you know,
yeah,
I mean, to be fair, we both knew certain people.
yeah.
We both knew a certain group of people that were in charge of a certain event.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
Yeah, they used it for gain, like purely for
yeah,
gain.
they
Yeah.
only that there's a certain face that these people that are like put in charge of things that they put on to there's and I don't think they do it intentionally. I honestly
Yeah.
think that there's like
It's like it's just expected now. It's just like the culture.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
people just don't see that they're doing it. I didn't see that I was kind of I thought it was just kind of how it was. But no,
yeah.
just streamer culture, I just find it very toxic. It's not good for gaming and it's actually kind of ruined gaming as a whole.
Okay. That
Yeah.
actually leads me perfectly into my next question. What would you like to see change with games moving forward? You know, I know you
Um,
really like story based, story driven gameplay. Is that something you would like to see sort of expanded upon, or do you maybe want to see more sort of the technical aspect of it improve more?
I mean, in this day and age, all the games are coming out kind of the same. It's supposed to be like quick. I mean, battle royales were like the thing. That was
Oh,
the only thing that was coming out for years
yeah.
was battle royale games. And you know, none of them are really different. They're all kind of the same. It's just like a quick like attention grab, you know, play our game because it's a battle royale or it's this and it's just there's not much substance when it comes to games anymore. I like Baldur's Gate 3. I think it has a lot going on.
Still
Funniest
need to
thing
play
about
that.
it, oh my gosh, when you do in the character creation, it
Just the
was like the
biggest
funniest
junk I
thing.
could possibly put on this character.
Yeah, yeah. You can actually go in and change the
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could do that in
yeah.
Cyberpunk as well.
Oh, I never played
I
Cyberpunk.
didn't either, but I saw the character creation.
Mm, yeah, you can go very in depth, and I liked it. I liked it. There's a storyline. I can't say if it's really good yet, but it's there. It exists. But no, I just and a lot of games can't make it either. Like I played Video Horror Society VHS,
Mm.
and it only lasted a couple months before the entire studio shut down. That's happened to a few of the games I've played. Like Islands of Nine was a big game that I played that
Oh yeah.
I actually worked for, and then they just it was one day they were like everything's good, like we're right on track. To the very next day they're like oh, we're closing shop. So you know, games rely so heavily on these streamers to play it
Yeah.
and for like culture to kind of follow these games, but it's not just there can't be a bunch of games anymore. There can only be so many games now.
And I think that actually is like a double-edged sword. It's like, yeah, you can play
Hmm.
these games and you can have these streamers say, "Hey, or hey, can you play this game for us? Kind of get a little bit more publicity on the game. We'll pay you to do that." And then
Hmm.
streamers take that, they play it for a while, and then the streamer gets burnt out on the game because they're basically having to play the game as opposed to wanting to play the game. And then
Hmm.
the streamer gets burnt out. You can tell the streamer's getting agitated and getting burnt out. And then the viewer associates that with the game, and then the game dies off because the viewer base
Hmm.
is gone because the streamers aren't playing them anymore. So,
Hmm.
with these studios playing these games for, or making these games for the streamers, in the end, they're shooting themselves in the foot instead of making them enjoyable for everybody instead of just making them streamable.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just not a good scene for games, I guess.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you 100%. I'd very
Yeah.
much like some game studio, and honestly, I have high hopes for the new Dragon Age game.
Mm-hmm.
Because Dragon Age is probably one of my favorite franchises. Conveniently enough, also made by the same studio that did KOTOR.
Mm-hmm. They know how to do it
They
right.
they are so good at making story-based games, and that's
They
really what
are.
I've fallen into. When I was younger, I was really big into shooters. I entered into a Halo 3 tournament one time and won. Um, but like story-based games, like I don't want to I'm 33. I'm not old, but like the older I get, like the more I appreciate the subtle nuances that you can get in story-based gameplay that you
Yeah.
can't get in just the ground and pound shooter aspect to games.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Yep.
right. So, I have one last question for you.
All right.
What is next for you? What is next in
Ooh.
regard to streaming for you? Where do you see your stream this time next year?
Um, I haven't thought so far ahead, to be honest. I kind of planned for what I'm gonna do for now, and if it works out, then great. But I went back to college. So I do
Mm-hmm.
have degrees. I have my degree in criminal justice. I have 2 associate degrees in paralegal and child development. But now I'm going back to school for cloud computing. Just a completely left field degree. Why not?
You may as
And
well.
as
There's good money in it.
there is, and that's kind of why I'm chasing that field. Um, but so I started my degree in the college that I go to, which I'm not going to share the name now, but I will in the future. Um, they basically you can enroll for as many classes as you want. You pay for the six months, and you can take as many classes as you want. So basically, how I described it is I'm currently speed running a bachelor's degree. My goal is to finish in March, but I don't think it's possible. And as long as I get through my first 6 months, after that, I can pay like for certain classes and stuff. I don't have to pay the full tuition, and just whatever I need to finish, I can finish, and then I'm done. But it's completely self-paced. I do have like instructors, but I only go to them if I have any questions about anything, which I don't. They basically give you all the information, and the classes are a pass or fail. So you take a test at the end when you're ready, and they either pass you or you have to go back and retake it. And sorry, there's something in my eye. But so right now, because college takes up a lot of time, I'm just streaming myself doing my college degree.
Yeah.
Um, and
That,
that's
that's kind of sort of what I mentioned earlier about like, hey, I've really wanted to play this game, but I don't really have a reason to do it. You know,
mm-hmm,
if you set it up to where your streams are like, this is my study time, let's study
mm-hmm,
together, then
mm-hmm,
that, you know what? That is a great way to gamify your education. That's actually
mm-hmm.
really smart.
Thanks. Yeah. So it's like I'm speed running
Yeah.
a bachelor's degree because most I mean bachelor's degrees tend to take 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going in with the degree 25% done because I transferred all my credits. So it's 25% done, and I'm supposed to finish it within a year. So
Killing it.
super.
Absolutely killing it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so chat. Go ahead and open up chat real quick. I don't think we've had any questions come in for Sylfia. Um, the socials have been popping up next to you basically the entire stream.
Good.
But where
Yeah.
can people find you if they want to, follow you?
So I go by Sylfia on Twitch, Sylfia TV everywhere else, like Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Um, don't put Sylvia TV.
No,
Do-
no, we've run into that. It's
I've
with an
almost
F. It's with an
yes,
F, not a
I
V.
almost rebranded entirely because of that.
Yeah, wouldn't
Yeah,
have blamed you.
yeah, that
It's
was pretty,
yeah,
yeah, pretty bad. But just don't put a V.
yeah. All right. Well, I know you have a stream to get to. So I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Thank you so much for joining me on our first ever Pixel Profiles. We do have a question. Ho ho. Selena has come in and said, you mentioned study streams. What does that entail? I'm looking at schooling and streaming. Studying sounds interesting.
Well, it's so basically I literally just record myself. It's just literally myself and I'm studying. I've seen a few other streamers do this. It's not like I came up with this concept, but I literally sit there, I talk to chat, and I just do my class. My goal with it is to actually pay for my degree and just kind of graduate debt free, which somebody on Monday donated like $350. So I'm like, okay, this is like a sustainable idea. Yeah, so I kind of just sit there. I had strep throat for like the last 2 weeks. I just now got better, and
great timing.
Yeah, I know. And so I wanted to talk a little bit more about what I was doing while I was doing it, but I couldn't. And I was taking notes too, so like these were my notes. That's a poorly drawn graph. But I was showing them that too. Yeah, it was not good. But yeah, so that's really it. It's just kind of like a hangout spot, and I refer to it as like my study group because we sit and study together. And
so
I mentioned my
degree.
degree.
You're like the lo-fi girl. Like
yeah, and we listen to lo-fi. Yeah, exactly. And that's what we listen to. And actually, somebody had come into my stream and was talking about his job, and I guess he's like a cloud computing manager. And I was like, oh, hey, well, if your job's hiring. And he was like, you know what? Yeah, actually. So
nice.
It just felt like, it also was like a networking thing because, like I mentioned, my college is completely online. There's no instructors. I don't have set classes. I don't have classmates. So I don't have much room for networking at all when it comes to my degree, just because there's none. So also Twitch is a good way to network, especially in an IT field where a lot of people on Twitch are IT.
Very true.
Yeah.
And you happen to be friends with somebody whose brother from another mother actually makes six figures in the IT field, so might be able to get some sort of connection going there at some point.
Yeah.
Not naming names.
So yeah, it's like my networking, my hangout spot.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a caster command in Twitch chat. Yeah. So. All right. So. Back to the outro. Thank you guys so much for coming to the first episode of our Pixel Profiles series. Sylfia, thank you so much for being our first guest. I greatly appreciate it. It means the world to me. And
thanks for having me.
Definitely be sure to come by next week because we are having another one of my great Twitch friends going to be on. Miss Spelly Does Art, who actually did a lot of our one of our emotes in the Kick chat. Can't use it in Twitch chat just yet. We're working on that. But yeah, everybody definitely be sure to go follow Sylfia on Twitch, twitch.tv/Sylfia, Sylfia TV, everywhere else. And we will see you guys next week with Miss Spelly Does Art. So have a great stream tonight, Sylfia, and I will talk to you soon.